very, very difficult. Even more because no one particularly came and told us. Reading it in the newspaper when you come into a building every day, people looking in your face, they bring people down here, we give them all these great examples of how our equipment works, and those are the people that's taking our jobs. It hurts. So I'm gonna read a letter from one of my people that work with me, employees. I'm a little nervous, but I'm gonna get through this. First, I'd like to apologize for her absence in this meeting. She just wanted to be known that we're not in agreement with this company coming in to take our jobs. I've been a proud employee for the city of Plainfield for over 15 years and never thought that I'd be leaving my career prematurely at no fault of my own. We were always told being a 911 telecommunicator is a thankless job. I never thought we were so undesirable and easily disposable in the eyes of our supervisors. Being a 911 operator comes with great liability and accountability. We perform our jobs efficiently as we could, and this is the thanks we get from the city. We protect it and serve for the best of our abilities. Central Communications was never properly staffed, but it was manageable. Last year, we learned that we were being replaced by a private company from a newspaper article. The first thing I said was, they didn't even care enough to sit us down to tell us that we were losing our jobs. So much for integrity. So my coworkers started searching for new employment so they didn't lose their civil service status or benefits. With that being said, the overtime grew, and instead of the overtime being given to the dispatchers first, it was given to the police officers, which caused a great deficit in the budget. Perhaps hiring people who was aspired to be police officers and hiring individuals who actually wanted to be 911 operators, the turnaround would have been so great. It's easy to toil over people's livelihood when you're not affected by the decisions made. Just think, as you have people coming to you, our kids are doing the same. There are people of substance in Plainfield that I believe can do this job, and opposed to bringing in an agency who knows nothing about our demographics, I'm asking you, please give Plainfield a chance. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, council members, administration, and mayor. My name is Cynthia Smith. I'm the president of the Plainfield Municipal Employees Association. I haven't been to the council meetings in a while, so a couple of things seem different to me. I used to sit there with the timer. How much time do I get? I just wanted to
4
make
minutes
sure.
and 38 seconds.
I just wanted to make sure programs. That's why I wrote it down, just in case, you know, I want to stay within the timelines and guidelines. Before I start with the statement that I wrote, one of the things struck me tonight when the council person asked questions about item G on the agenda about the layoffs, and the response was this was spoken about in executive session. One of the things that the ladies wanted was the opportunity to speak to the council in executive session, which is something that used to happen in the past. They've had a new law that was passed in July. But, you know, I can understand their nervousness and their not wanting to come public to speak and beg, so to speak, for their jobs. But before they were given the opportunity to have closed session conversation with the city council, and they're not afforded that opportunity anymore. So I wrote down some things just so that I wouldn't forget any of the important points that I wanted to make. So I'm here this evening to speak on behalf of the employees slated for layoff, some of which have been dedicated employees of the city of Plainfield for a number of years, doing a job that is oftentimes very stressful, but nonetheless, they stay committed to ensure the safety of the public and our first responders. I'd like to give one example of that commitment. During Hurricane Sandy, with power lines down and trees falling all over the city, everything was at a standstill. The city was bracing for the worst. One dispatcher who was off duty knew she was needed at work to assist with the emergency. It was too dangerous outside to drive and cab companies were closed. This employee walked down the streets in the dark with power lines down all around to get to the station and assist with the overwhelming number of emergency calls. Officers stayed on the line with her as she walked to keep up with her progress in case someone had to go out and get her. She arrived safely and worked around the clock to assist the residents. And there's countless other stories, but for the essence of time, we'll leave them. And that employee that I'm speaking about that did that for the city of Plainfield was Tia, the one that just spoke before me. And I knew about that story for some years now. The information that we have received is that the employees will be absorbed by the company if they choose to continue doing this type of work. However, it is at an average of a high pay cut. How many of us here tonight could afford to take a $12 an hour pay cut? If you are a single parent and you have children and you have to pay rent in the city of Plainfield, we know there's no rent control. That's a significant cut for anybody to endure. There's also no guarantee of location placement, meaning you could have to work in any city that the company sends you to, not necessarily Plainfield, as a possible shift, and also you could endure shift changes and other issues as well. We're always talking about the renaissance of Plainfield. So as Plainfield moves forward, I ask that you not forget about those that have been committed to the city of Plainfield, but make sure that they're included and able to go along for the ride. There's no rent control. I already spoke about that in the city, so I'll skip that. And about the decrease in future pay cut. So again, this is not the first time that the city has outsourced units. Once, and I've been here 37 years, so I've lived through a lot of it. We've also outsourced once before and had to bring the work back in-house because it ended up costing the city more to stay with the company that they outsourced to. Not to say that's the case here because I understand it's a contract, which is good for 5 years, but who knows what will happen after the 5 years. Unfortunately, we have not been able to speak to the director, as we all know he's out due to a tragic situation in his family. But we have been trying to speak with the administration and ask if there's other places where they could do some placement for some of the employees. We don't have a large number of them because a lot of them left once they found out that it was going to be outsourced. They went to other locations. So the ones that couldn't get other jobs are still here. Nonetheless, some of them have been here 17, 15 years, and they would like to work somewhere else within the city. So I've been speaking to the administration, and I hope that you all could encourage them here tonight to try to find placement for those employees that are city employees that have been here for a number of jobs who've done, of no fault of their own, they're losing their jobs when this layoff goes into effect. So that's just all. We're not here to go over how much was lost due to overtime, who overtime was given to. That I don't want to engage tonight. The only thing I want to ask the council to do is to ask administration. We just talked about having a surplus of money and putting extra money on hold. So if we could just do something to help with the placement of those employees that are being affected, and it's not a huge number, we would be so grateful and so thankful to them. Thank you.
Council President, and being that the potentially affected employees have appeal rights from civil service, I think it's incumbent that as a council, I would like to speak on this matter, both for the administration and council, because we have discussed this matter in closed session. First off, I'd like to just take exception with the notion that there's no opportunity for any affected employee to be heard. There's both this evening, where we are hearing from the affected members and from their union representatives, and there is no vote tonight. There's also an opportunity to be heard at the next meeting. So the notion that there is no opportunity for any employees to come forward is simply not the case. I'd like to take exception to a couple of other things that were said that just are not correct. There was a statement made that these employees who are absorbed by any company that we use to outsource would have their locations be anywhere in the state, not within Plainfield. Every indication we have is the opposite. That all the employees who find work with the new company would in fact have jobs in Plainfield. As for the rate of pay is negotiable, as with any private entity. We have made every attempt and will continue to do so to see that every affected employee has the opportunity for employment with the new private entity. Ultimately, when it comes to a case of any layoff plan, it's incumbent upon the administration to make the case for both economy and efficiency. In this case, the savings which can potentially be realized could be approximately $2 million. That information has been provided from the administration to the council, and being that the council has an obligation to the taxpayers, ultimately that's something the administration felt the council could not overlook. So we don't do this without serious consideration, and the position of the administration is that ultimately this will make as Director Riley has previously stated, make the efficiency of that service much greater, and also save the taxpayers of Plainfield greatly. So just want to address those points, and thank you, Council President, for the opportunity to do so.
Anthony Howard, Vice President, PMEA. The concerns that was brought up in the media is valid to a certain extent. But after someone put in 15, 17 years with an employer, and making plans for retirement, it becomes very difficult for an individual, especially right now, going to a private entity, and basically they're, in terms of retirement benefits and stuff they're looking forward to, that's pretty much shot. Okay, so in terms of the equation, that's one of the issues we had in terms of our membership. Right? In addition to that, the notification in terms of the employees. I mean, it was very sad that our people are calling us and saying, hey, look, what's going on? There's a layoff coming up. The city's getting rid of our division. Okay? We have to find out, we found that out from the newspapers, or actually from the blogs. Okay? I think that was very, that's kind of hard on our people in terms of preparing for the future. Okay? I think we've worked in a very good way with you guys, with the administration, and we would have liked to have had that information before, the public, got that information or membership did. Okay, they came to us, letting us know this is what's going on, and asking us questions about it. Okay, so this is the level of respect with what we ask in terms of the administration when something is coming down the pipe that's affecting our people. That give us an idea of that beforehand, so when we step into a meeting, we don't look like fools giving people incorrect response.
Council President, it's my understanding, just for the sake of the record, that the personnel director did meet with union representatives prior to this meeting tonight. That's my understanding. I'm getting the business administrator is also.
You want to say something?
Yes, in addition to that, again, our HR department met with the union representative and made them aware of what the plan was going to be presented to the council. In addition, we presented to the council a full detailed comparison of all the benefits. So for the comment that was just made that the employees will not have retirement benefit is incorrect. The benefits with the new company as competitive as for retirement as anything else, and includes also a bonus scale that the employees will be able to gain from that, which is something that we don't have currently with the city. So that was presented, to the council in order to be able to recommend this.
Good evening. My name is Beverly Crisp, and I reside at 531 West 4th Street. And I'm just coming before you today as a lifelong resident here in the city of Plainfield, expressing my concerns about the Neighborhood Health Services Corporation. Many of you may know or may be aware of the fact that they did file bankruptcy on January 5th of 2014. As of last year, October 2nd, after going through a very tedious bankruptcy process, the bankruptcy judge did not grant them the bankruptcy. However, the judge ordered that the Neighborhood Health Services Corporation be under the tutelage of a trustee who is now trustee in possession of the Neighborhood Health Services Corporation. Some of you may have gotten some correspondence from me, but I know it's a pretty new administration. And I'm very concerned about the future of the Neighborhood Health Services Corporation. It's very dear to my heart, as both my parents were patients of the Neighborhood Health Services, my father being the first HIV patient to at the Neighborhood Health Services Corporation in 1984, my mother being a patient, myself as well as my children. As we know that part of the awarding of the closure of Middleburg Hospital, That was because the Neighborhood Health Services Corporation was there to get access to especially the uninsured, the underserved populations, which I consider myself as being part of that population. Just as an update, there will be a hearing. The trustee in possession will be given an official report to Judge Papalia in the United States District Bankruptcy Court on February 14th at 11 o'clock a.m. I am begging council and administration, if at all possible, that we be in front of the crisis that is going on at the health center by attending the bankruptcy hearing, again, on Valentine's Day at 11 o'clock a.m. Your support is greatly needed. Thank you.
One question, where is the hearing?
The hearing is United States Department of Justice Bankruptcy Court, 1 Newark Center. Actually, I'm sorry, that's the address to the attorney. I'm sorry, it's at United States Bankruptcy Court, Martin Luther King Jr. Federal Building, 50 Walnut Street in Newark at 11 o'clock a.m. Judge Vincent Papalia, and that's on the 3rd floor.